Hello everyone and welcome. We're at the European Open for our FPO feature card coverage. This is the back nine at the Beast.
Tervetuloa Suomi. Welcome to Finland. Yay, we're finally here.
I'll go with that. I'm Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined alongside Hannah Macbeth, our Finnish commentator.
Yeah.
We're here on hole number 10. Hannah, take it away.
Yeah, we're going to start off with what many would consider the hardest stretch of the course, the back nine. Hole 10 coming in at 755 feet. It is a par 4 and the tee shot is long and downhill. You want to maximize your distance off the tee. You have OB running alongside the entire left of the fairway, and as you throw your second shot, the fairway tightens significantly. As you can see, the green rests beyond this challenging 60-foot wide fairway, Terry, about 200 feet in length. And leaning against the hay bales this year is safe. In years past, those hay bales have been located outside of the OB, so an extra punishment. This year, maybe UC is getting soft with his course design, I don't know.
I like those three trees that are there as well as providing additional obstacles near the green. And
wow, look at this tee shot, biting off all the distance on her drive. Eveliina Salonen unleashing, I think some build up in the woods there, finally being able to come out.
Kona Panis not quite getting it to carry far enough in terms of going straight. That's going to leak off left side and just trickles out of bounds. So Panis, OB. Paige Pierce.
It's a great drive. Nice and straight.
Almost too straight, Hannah.
Carrying, oh my goodness. Nearly carrying OB far. I did not think that OB would come into play for a drive.
Albeit safe. It's not going to be in the best position for her to attack the pin. She's going to have another decision to make there.
Be nice to see Anneli with her first distance drive of the day. Excellent control on that driver. Just needs to slow down before the OB.
And that might be the best position out of all four competitors.
I agree. As we said, as you throw your second shot, the fairway does tighten significantly, so the landing zone does become more tricky, as we see that little right to left downsloping hill even, maybe causing a disc to stand up and roll away, OB. Kona is safe for her second shot.
This is coming in as the sixth most difficult hole on the course, averaging 4.88.
That did not look like an aggressive approach for Paige. That looked very conservative.
Yeah, just thinking about that small peninsula and realizing maybe that she can't get all the way to the green, or that it was bringing in too much risk if she was going for the green. So therefore she said, hey, I'm just going to back off this entirely and set myself up for a couple of really safe shots. I love the very smart play there by Pierce.
Not only bringing the fence line into play a little bit, we're seeing maybe a little peek into her next game plan for her shot, having to go over the fence line.
And clearly no layup in this woman. Eveliina.
Wow. That was amazing. Still some trees to contend with, but just what a remarkable play of this hole today for Eveliina.
If you asked her and said, hey, would you like those two shots for the next 3 rounds, she would say, yes, I will take those every single time.
Right.
So far, dissecting hole number 10. And Paige Pierce also playing it very smart. She's looking at the par.
Yeah, Paige a little bit out of position on her first shot, but still, as you said, playing it out for par nicely. This is Kona's third attempt. First backhand approach from Kona, Terry. We haven't seen her have to rely on that so much today.
And with Anneli being that far back of the fence, it really doesn't come into play. It's more of just a visual obstacle, so to speak. But so far, I like what she's doing. Let's see if she can make the putt from inside the circle.
Uphill putt with the headwind, so her disc's naturally going to want to lift with that headwind. Great line there. What a great putter.
She's been so impressive. This is the first time many of us are seeing her play, at least on recorded coverage.
Nice putt there for Kona. Fortunately, with the OB, she will card the bogey, but still able to clean it up nicely. I like the straddle decision on the hillside. Eveliina for birdie. Really well done.
And that's seeing her pick up birdies on both 9 and 10. She closed out the front 9 with a long birdie from circle 2, comes back with the short make here on 10, and only competitor in the entire field to walk away with a birdie on hole number 10 in round 1. So congrats to her for that. As Paige walks away with a stress-free par, still picking up strokes on most of the field. Now they head over to the very daunting hole number 11.
I know. Hole 11, OB on the left and right. The main play I expect to be that short layup in the small pocket that we're seeing here right before those trees. Players will have to swing their shot out over the OB the entire way though, so sometimes we see the light poles act like guards. Then they'll throw the approach from there. Both the approach and the tee shot require a lot of touch and control, which are the two skills being tested the most here at the Beast in Nokia. And as you said, Terry, this is the hardest hole to birdie in my opinion. I don't foresee any birdie opportunity unless you throw it in on your second shot.
Well, prior to this card getting there, we have yet to see a birdie here. So this is our last chance, our last group, the feature card going through. Let's see if they can change that narrative. Here's Eveliina.
Yeah, I think these women are capable of throwing 394 feet, but the risk just outweighs the reward here. It's a deep layup, but I would still consider it short, laying up short of the OB. And here's Paige. She's going to carry out over the OB. And as I said, these light poles, oh my goodness, no way.
Yeah, she just narrowly misses the first.
And right as I was saying it, that's actually crazy. They act like guards. They keep the discs from returning in bounds, just like what we saw from Paige. It's so unfortunate. And the percentage for that error is so small.
And she leaks off to the left side. That's Anneli. So she'll get all of the distance, but will be OB on the left side.
I actually didn't watch coverage in preparation for this, so that was a genuine reaction. I have no idea what's going to happen, and Kona not able to come back in bounds as well. Terribly unlucky for both her and Paige.
Yeah, and you look at Kona's there, that was just a few feet off of hitting the sidewalk or the path. Had it hit that, it almost certainly would have skipped to the left, flaring into the inbounds area, and instead she's going to be out of bounds. So Pierce actually has to bring it way back to where she was last in, and this is as tough of a shot as she's going to throw this weekend.
Very aggressive here for Paige. They're giving her safe.
And you see her frustration, understandably so. And if you're out of position on this hole, it's just so difficult to kind of have that hero recovery shot because OB is left and right. And Kona...
Yeah, watching Kona play this hole with this tailwind is really interesting. I'm not in love with her decision making here. I think off the tee she should have hung it out much higher, knowing that the tailwind's going to push her disc down, but it will carry it back to the left. And then again, she's throwing it out to the left, but in a tailwind, it really wants to take your disc out of its rotation sooner.
And you see the forehand approach, catching a tree and really out of bounds the entire way. So she doesn't make much progress, if any, as she moves up. And then on her backhand shot says, I got to make sure to get it there. I don't want to bring anything else into play, and gives it too much. I think back to what we saw from her on her approach back on hole number 5, where she could see the basket, but just gave it 30 feet too much. So maybe that's an area of opportunity where Anneli is still working on trying to dial in her game, is that medium range approach shot from anywhere from 80 to 150 feet.
Aren't we all?
Well, the patent pending stance. We'll see what Eveliina, she opts to go high and actually gives that a bit as it floats just beyond the pin.
Great effort there by Eveliina. Nice touch.
Paige came up short of the OB pond and able to pitch up, and man, hole so difficult here.
Yeah, carding some big numbers on this hole.
That's Anneli for 6.
And again, this is really one of the holes where, yes, it is difficult. You know, it is long. There's a lot of OB, but if they were in the woods, the angles and the lines that they have to hit are a little bit more clear. When you get to choose, because the airspace is nice and open, that's when the mistakes can come. If you're not secure in what line you're going to choose, or maybe you make the wrong mistake with the disc choice, or throw something a little bit too far, it's just all can fall apart very easily here on hole 11.
Anneli in for the quad bogey. Unfortunately, double bogeys that we find for both Kona and Paige, so taking a bite out of their scorecard. Meanwhile, picking up strokes certainly is the par there that we saw from Eveliina as we head over to 12.
Yeah, after a long walk across the street to more green space at this park, we arrive at the par 4. A new tee placement, enough to completely change the shot. This brings the OB into play right off the tee shot with the low ceiling. Off the tee, there's this hillside fading right to left, as you can see, carrying throughout the entire fairway, so angle control is necessary here, and if you don't have it dialed in, you are going to suffer. I'm interested most in this hole to see how it goes with the low ceiling and the slope. Getting off the tee here is going to be pretty challenging. The green has that quick drop off on the left side of it. We've kind of seen that all day. Maybe 15 feet from the basket. Again, kind of trending here with the elevation at the park. But this tee shot is what I'm most interested in seeing, how these women break it down and attack it.
Well, we saw Eveliina there catch the ceiling and knock her straight down, which is probably best case scenario. Things can get really sideways here if you're off your mark left or right. And Paige,
with that signature shot.
Yeah. And understandably saying, hey, I'm ready for a snack.
Yeah.
At this point, we're nearly a couple hours into the round. Like you just said, a very long walk to get over to hole number 12. And what a shot by Kona.
Great shot, yeah. Really well done.
Although this hole comes in at 600 feet, you have that elevation to go up on the initial part. And like you said, just a small gap, a small ceiling.
Yeah.
You have left and right corridor to deal with and the OB.
Yeah, I liked Anneli's play there. She just threw something she was comfortable with, be it a fairway driver or not. Paige and Kona opted for more, looked like mid-range putter approach type speed driver. And then Eveliina with the classic forehand, just get me out of here. But I like seeing the different disc selection and speed as well as the angle control.
And that stays in bounds, but
Yeah.
you see the low ceiling is kind of the theme throughout this hole. And you're talking about 600 feet. You're also on an incline, so you're trying to walk or run uphill during your run up, but yet keep the disc and the nose angle down. And that is a very tough combo.
Yeah, so with Paige here, she's going to opt for something overstable and turn it over because it's not going to... She doesn't want to hyzer flip anything. Hyzers climb, so they're going to climb up into that low ceiling and give her trouble. So she's just going to turn over something a little bit more stable on this fairway, keep it nice and low to the ground. Good finish from her. And then we'll see Kona if she has the same control here. Yeah. Really great follow-throughs. This is not easy.
No, they are making it look.
They really are. They're making it look very easy, but the follow-through and the weight shift on a slope like this is not easy, and to have to be so accurate. Look at this control from Anneli.
Yeah, this hole came in at 4.79, playing as the 8th most difficult. So if you're looking at a par opportunity, you are doing work.
Perfect approach shot from Eveliina. got to be happy with her game so far on this back nine.
So Pierce with a long birdie look.
Oh, I thought that was gonna connect. Yeah, the green does have that quick drop off on the left side, about 15 feet from the basket. Paige was kind of bringing it into play, but she doesn't often go zooming past the basket. I wouldn't say she's pretty accurate with, like, I don't know how to say she's accurate with her misses, but if she does miss, she's not often having a huge comeback. So I don't think that was necessarily a concern for her, but she just seems like she's running everything today. She must be feeling it.
And you have to think with some of the wood chips that are out there, those definitely are fresh, but also it can create an unevenness in your footing. So sometimes when you go and you step back, we see Paige really shift her weight back and then lunge forward. I'm not giving her that excuse, so to speak. That could have just simply been a misfire out of her hand. But that's something that I'm thinking about as I was smelling and experiencing those brand new wood chips, which smell amazing, by the way. I know you wouldn't necessarily be worried about that. They are. So they smell great.
Yeah, it's true, though. That's why Paige sort of went through that routine pretty quickly. And a lot of the time when players do their putting routine, it's to see what the footing is like.
And we've seen these names on top throughout today. They're playing very well. Kat Mertz right now with her round of even after 12 holes. So impressive.
Yeah.
Just even keel throughout. And then Katrina Allen, KT Tati, along with Eveliina and Laura, all sitting within 3 strokes of one another. We're starting to see a little bit more separation. And I know coming into this round, a lot of people were talking that 4 over or better would be considered a really impressive score. So that's kind of a benchmark that's unofficially been set as we head into 13.
Yeah, and that difficult tee shot that just flew over. I mean, first 2 trees off the tee create a little bit of a line, but with one on each side, you actually end up having a tunnel. And as you pass those, not only are you faced the low ceiling again, but you have the hill climbing, making the gap even smaller. So I'm sure a lot of tee shots will hit the hill or the trees, but I'm going to be looking for the drives that make it out of the gap with the birdie potential, because once you have, as you saw with the flyover, making it out, it's pretty wide open fairway to the basket. And if you, if you get yourself to a decent spot, I mean, you should definitely be able to earn birdie or par here on this hole.
Thinking back to both 12 and now here on 13, you're looking at 600 and 614 feet. Not incredibly long par 4s, but lots of danger, as Kona just found.
Yeah, Valerie Mandujano told me during U.S. Women's, during a practice round, unfortunately she can make it out to this major, but she said where your foot plants is where you'll throw the disc. And unfortunately, Kona's foot planted right in line with that tree on the left, and that's what she connected with. Again, just small percentage of errors here at the Beast.
And to follow that point up, this hole has such a small window, not only to hit, but your room for error is razor thin here. So when you do connect with a tree, it's usually quite punishing. And Paige, mid-range, right up the gut.
Really nice.
Just really relying on that consistent control. And obviously not necessarily going to be the longest throw, but that's not what you need here on this tee shot.
Wow, look at this exit.
Fighting through. Solid recovery shot there for Kona Panis.
Anneli finding herself a little bit further down the fairway than Kona, but still off to the right side. Yeah, similar spot.
Now throwing her third.
Bit of a patent pending again, meaning she will have to surrender some of the distance for some control. And I don't think she turned that over enough. Yeah, continuing to find the rough here on hole number 13. Not ideal, but the scramble lines are there. They're just, as we're seeing, she's having to sacrifice some distance in order to maintain her scramble here on 13.
And there's really two routes that you can go here. You can go out into the right side, which I'm really liking by Eveliina.
Me too.
Or you could kind of cut the corner and take the shortcut. However, if you miss it, you're going to be punished with at least an extra stroke or two. In this case, Eveliina is going out to the right. That's going to give her a long look. But worst case scenario, she should be walking away with the par. I think that is a very smart play, especially in the early goings here of the tournament. If later in the round or later in the week she needs to be more aggressive, maybe she'll alter a game plan. But I love going out and around, and we're seeing Paige decides to go right up the middle, and she peers the gap perfectly.
Wow.
And that's going to give her a look from almost pin deep. Pierce dissecting hole number 13. Kona with an opportunity to still get up and down and save the par.
Nice line there from Kona. She's got that wide rim disc. That'll have some movement at the end of her shot. Really well done. Good putting opportunity there.
And she still has a lane here, which is great. I wouldn't necessarily count on that when you come into that short left side, but this time...
No way.
Off the front of the cage. What a shot.
Wow, that's a crowd pleaser right there.
And that would be one way to save the par.
Hopefully that wasn't a baseline plastic disc, because that will not fly the same, but that's a great shot.
And Eveliina not wanting to mess with any potential slope behind the basket, just lays it up next to the pin. Meanwhile, Pierce trying to collect the birdie.
She is feeling it. Coming off of the back-to-back missed putts on the previous hole, but still feeling confident, feeling comfortable on the putting green.
Putting just about every color possible here on the back nine so far, but green is good. So Pierce, she's just one of two women to birdie this hole, her and Hannah Blumros.
Nice putt make from Kona. She's taking that straddle approach, which she did on hole number 10. I thought it was because of the slope, but now that I'm seeing her form, I think it's just to take the legs out of it. Sometimes when you take that added factor out, you only have to worry about your arms, and you're always going to be putting in a straight line. So straddle is really good if you're a beginner or if you're having some woes in the circle.
And it seems like the most, we've seen a few different iterations in terms of her strategy for putting, and it feels like straddle is kind of where she's settled on recently. And they actually take a very long walk now back. Thankfully, we're not experiencing all of it, but here we are on 14 after that long walk.
Yeah, this is a pretty reachable par 3, but it is a difficult shape. They have to push the disc left to right and have to have the height to clear the trees. It is possible, as I said, to get caught up in the tree. Oh, sorry. It is possible to get to the basket, but if you get caught up in the tree, you have kind of an open look at the basket. You still have to scramble. So if you can get past it and hit the right line, you should have no obstacles. Obviously, on the green, we saw that. Being 361 feet, it will be hard to keep the disc turning that long, and that is the biggest challenge, I think, off the tee. Find the line, get the height right, and allow the disc to do the work. And this is a great example of that.
Yeah, the only thing I would have loved to see is a little more height to it. She did hit the line. If she would have got the height up, then I think that would have continued to fade all the way to the pin, but she'll still have a look. And excited to see what Eveliina can do. And, well, that looks like a carbon copy almost.
Yeah. I love one of the nice things people don't often mention here at the European Open is that every basket has a flag. So a wind read on the green is always possible, and that is just such a great added bonus for these players as they approach or as they attack from the tee pad. It's the little things, Terry.
It is, and as funny as it is that you say that, I remember thinking that the wind that was happening on the green felt a little different from the wind that was actually happening on the tee, and that's because we're pushed up against this, wooded area. I'm sure there's, some possibility for swirls or just protection from the different sections of this hole along with the hill that's played along, and that's creeping in hard to the right side. So Anneli is going to have some work to do from over on that right side. If you're going to miss anywhere, I feel like missing left is better than missing right, because this is what you're faced with if you miss to this hard right side. On a short pitch, which will give her an opportunity to save the par. This hole averaging 3.13 during round one. And what a bid by Kona.
Great turn on that. Coming in nice and soft into the, bullseye area for her.
I would expect to see another very aggressive bid here by Pierce.
Just short. Great line. No wood chips on this basket, so you're relying on the grass, which, Terry, you were on site. Is it Velcro? What do we have going on?
Yeah, this grass has been very grabby, so to speak. There's not a lot of skipping going on. Now we're a full 3 hours into the round, so even in the shaded parts of the course, it feels like most of the grass and the dew that was there has in fact dried up, and we're experiencing an unseasonably warm day. The temperatures are in the mid to high 80s. That's in Fahrenheit.
Anneli with a miss there in the putting green. Unfortunate for her. It seemed she had a little bit of a tailwind, which is going to push the disc down, and then as soon as it was released, it sort of dropped and the wind went away. So as you said, difficult to read here.
Pierce with the easy cleanup. And I'm going to ask you to not take on your job of travel agent. When I had asked about coming here, you said dress and plan for rainy Oregon weather. And here we are, 85 degrees, and I'm cooking out there.
Oh, so this is your fault. I get it.
Eveliina with the easy cleanup for the par, and Anneli will card the bogey. There were 0 birdies relinquished on hole number 14. We'll see if that changes throughout the week.
Moving on to hole 15, par 3 at 509 feet. This hole has changed from previous years. It used to be a par 4, but now with the shorter basket. So par 3, though it's not much shorter at 509 feet, a birdie is just not in the cards for these women. It's not a matter of skill or distance, as we've talked about throughout this course, but again, the risk just outweighing the reward here, and keeping this hole as simple as possible is the best in my opinion, especially with the elevated basket at the end, OB all around. Placement is everything. It's a severely downhill tee shot. I think it's about, I'd say 350 to somewhere in between 350 and 400 to the water. I know that's, give or take, as they say.
And we have a severe 39 feet in elevation that this plays from up on this hillside down. So significant drop.
Yeah, and when you're throwing downhill, your disc naturally wants to track to the left, so Paige opting for that understable putter shot. It's no shock to me that it just held the line, didn't turn over or anything. Not only is she skilled and very accurate today with it, but again, the downhill slope is playing to her advantage with that kind of shot here.
Is Eveliina going for this?
This is looking really aggressive. Wow, I think she was, Terry. That is really surprising to me.
And she does not push through on that right side.
Yeah,
and so she's going to be out of bounds.
She's had such an incredible back nine, and to just not make that to make that decision is so surprising to me. Kona coming in safe, but again, just struggling maybe with some height off the tee.
Continuing to notice just how congested the scores are. We're seeing Kona at 4 over, Paige at 3 over, Eveliina at 3 over, now with a penalty stroke here, but very close in terms of the scores.
Great line the whole way, asking for it to swoosh left, swoosh. Asking for it to swoop left. I don't know if that's better.
I mean, I think she is wearing a Nike tennis skirt. So,
yeah, swoosh. Yeah, that works.
So we'll give you the pass on that.
Thanks. That's why we're the
I'm not
best
sure.
commentary duo of all time. And it wouldn't be a Disc Golf Network video without some sort of cute animal in it. So check that off of your bingo card. Kona with a nice straightforward approach here.
It's almost too straight.
Wow.
Like those can be a little bit deceptive when you're looking at that. It's right there in front of you. You just have to throw a very straight shot. And Hannah, you know as well as anyone, throwing the straight shot in disc golf sometimes is the hardest shot to do, and that was well executed.
Yeah, it was so good, especially considering getting off to a rocky start in the beginning of the front of the back nine and not having the greatest front nine. Maybe not having to rely on that backhand approach as often. That was an excellent shot from Paige Pierce as well. But yeah, I really liked Kona's shot, and I liked how, despite all of the OB surrounding it, I mean, any mistake there, her shot could have an added stroke to it. And she just absolutely pured it. Oh, rescued.
The stake keeps it in bounds.
Yep.
We will
really
take
nice.
it.
Look how tight that OB comes up to the basket. That is challenging stuff.
So keeping in mind, you're going to want to hang it wider to the left and not bring that OB in from that right side. And a well-executed approach there by Eveliina. She should be walking away with the bogey 4.
I guess that explains the backhand approach from Kona rather than the forehand. Great putt from Anneli. Super happy with that one, and for good reason. She played this hole really well. I feel like it feels like a birdie.
Here we are to the elevated pin for Panis.
Oh. Just off that right side, misjudged the line there. Big comebacker given the elevated pin and her strong putting stroke.
Yeah, she has at least doubled the putting distance. She was inside 15 feet. Now she is just barely inside circle 1. So she's coming back looking at least 28 feet. And you see the wind on top of the basket to the elevated pin.
I am really surprised that she is going... It looks like she's going to attempt to put this in. Yeah, I'm really surprised with that decision making, given that she hasn't had to make a putt like that all day, and when she has, she's just laid up. So now she's running these putts, and it just seems on such an elevated basket.
Yeah, and you compare that to what we saw from her way back earlier in the round on hole number 3, where she had laid up and was conceding and saying, hey, I don't want the inside the circle look, to possibly save the par, and she pitched it underneath. These were similar putts. Maybe not quite the mound that we see on that other one. And Eveliina stares that one in and tells it better stay in the basket. Tried to kind of force its way out the back, but it stays in, and she'll walk away with the bogey. Meanwhile, Pierce, the easy cleanup. And a little bit of a frustration as Kona will tap in for her triple bogey here on 15, and not the color you wanted.
Yeah, she played hole 15 really well until she hit the putting green, unfortunately. And that is the story. That is what can happen when you have these elevated baskets. These mistakes, they just add more distance than if the basket was on the ground.
And part of the story of this course is it covers a lot of ground. You have a few significant walks between some of the holes. This being one of them. When you complete 15, you back all the way around, and you go quite a ways before you get to the tee of 16. We have some of these connecting walks, and we're going to take a quick look. Kat Murch,
wow,
still doing some work out there.
Yeah,
She's picked up a couple strokes, but
yeah, really making a name for herself this year, and as well as Katie Tate coming out to the U.S. for the first time this year, playing some disc golf pro tour events, having some pretty good finishes, and then two women who are pretty much always in the mix, Paige and Kat, tied for third. We make our way over to hole 16. This is a bunker hole with unique rules. So if you throw any of your shots out of bounds, you're not penalized, but the throw counts towards your score. Depending on where you land in bounds off the tee, you have to make the decision to lay up either closer to the island for your OB carry, or you have to go for the island from distance. So this green is relatively small. In fact, I had Paul quoted as like the size of a postage stamp or something. The furthest point is still Circle 2's edge, and the widest it goes is 30 feet. Biggest challenge, of course, being the green. It's so small, and if you miss the island, your discs don't just respawn back into your bag. Video game terms for all my nerds out there. But yeah, a lot of the time, people have been known to throw their whole bag on this hole and then have to go collect their discs. So Terry, you've been around for a while. Have you ever experienced that?
Of course I haven't. Have I seen others? Maybe.
That's what I meant.
I'm still just so impressed you guys are familiar with postage stamps.
Of course, yeah.
And Pierce playing it out plenty wide.
Yeah.
Almost too wide?
She's going to have that decision. I mean, she can either take her second shot and get closer to the OB carry or go from the island from distance. So we'll see. I love these gorgeous birch trees that pop up throughout the course. They do act as guardian trees, and maybe getting into Anneli a bit more. So here's a good example, Terry. So Anneli has gone OB off the tee. She'll have to re-tee, and that will count as a throw, but she won't be added a stroke because of finding the OB, and this looks too high, and that looks to be carrying OB as well. Ugh. Unfortunately, she'll have to throw for a third time.
And when you think about this hole, it's not usually the tee shot that you're as concerned about. Of course, you need to get it in bounds, but that's not where the real danger of this hole is, right? It's throwing to that postage stamp green.
Correct. Yeah, there is placement, as you said, off the tee, but for the most part, people are thinking about their approaches to the green. They're not thinking about mistakes off the tee.
This looks like it's pushing left.
Yeah, there's something that they're reading out, being up so high. Maybe there's feeling like there's a headwind there because they're carrying left, but it seems like that's much more direct. It just turns over and stays turned over. So I'd be interested to know what the wind read was for that hole, if any.
This is the hole or the type of hole that you have nightmares about when you think about all the things that can go wrong. But at no point are you thinking, oh yeah, I'm concerned about going OB off the tee.
See, I like this effort from Kona. Just really overstable. Look to be like a fairway driver. Just put it out right. Let the disc work for you and come back. I have a feeling she's going for par here because she's going to lay up short of that OB line.
Very similar to what we saw from Pierce. So here's Anneli.
It's a good second shot. Though she will be penalized. It's a good second shot when she's on the fairway.
And Kona just biting off hole 16 in little chunks. And I love the play here. It seems like she's fully committed to her game plan. And if you walk away with a par here, you're doing some work. This is the second most difficult hole on the course, and it averaged 1.25 strokes over par. So it averages 5.25 on a par 4. So here's Pierce's second. Her and Paige just kind of, her and Kona just kind of matching each other.
Yeah, really well done. Do you know who Paige's caddy is for this week?
I do. That is Veronica, who I believe is from Hungary. And Paige had met her at a disc golf tourist event that she had hosted along with Maya and Dinko. And they had become friends there. And I'd actually met and played and filmed Veronica back at the Drava Forester in Croatia a few months later. So, yeah, she's here. And I speak to the international friendships, the camaraderie, just so many amazing opportunities that disc golf always provides to us. Hannah, you and I are so fortunate that we get to travel around the world to have some of these experiences and to have a caddy who's jumping on the bag as a friend that's from an entirely different country. I know Paul has that on the MPO side. It's quite special what we experience out here in disc golf. Hashtag Frisbee family.
Yeah, well said. And Anneli coming up short on her first approach to the green. See if she can make the correction here on her second time.
I believe that is her sixth throw, and it almost rolls back.
Yeah, an overcorrection. This is very common here on hole 16. It's what makes this hole so challenging.
I think players are so concerned about coming up short that we see the aggressive, the hard line that we just had by Anneli.
I mean, at its widest, it's 30 feet wide. So the area that she's trying to attack is so minuscule. And she's got it from such a distance.
Yeah, we saw that she had gone long again. So that fear of coming up short, oh no.
Goodness. Much better correction there, but...
So the distance isn't her problem. In fact, it's just that she's throwing it too far.
Yeah.
Clearly no problems getting there, but she has to take a little something off of it. And we'll see, maybe she puts a different angle on this, comes in with more of a spike as opposed to the flatter line that she's had. And right now she's thinking, just get me off hole 16.
I said it earlier that the back nine is the hardest stretch people talk about in this course, but I think these last four holes are the game changer. I mean, she had put together a pretty okay round, a 10 over until now, and that's not too bad. I mean, she's still going to be in contention. Shoot, some people take 10 overs on one hole. But for her, like, she had really looked so good in the circle, and she had done everything that she needed to do and conserved strokes where she needed to, hadn't really taken any big numbers until now. And these last four holes, you can have the best round all day, but come up short in last four and let everyone else catch up with you.
Well, Paige is on the green in 3. We just saw the great approach shot there also by Eveliina. And Kona's looking to get on the green in 3 as well. She doesn't like it. Oh, and she was going for another disc. She thought for sure she had missed the mark, and it actually got that wind lift. It carried onto the green, and that's a little pleasant surprise for her because she thought she misfired and was going to be penalized. Here's Pierce for the par. And that's got to be frustrating. After Pierce went conservative off the tee, then pitches up into the layup area and then gets over in one. She's really done all of the work, but then lets it slide on the green. So here's Kona now to save her par. And so solid.
Yeah. This hole is huge. Taking a par here really pulls you ahead of the rest of the field. This is a great score for Kona on this hole.
Yeah, in fact, just 33% of the field carded par. So out of our 24 women's division, only 8 of them were able to card a par. And there were 0 birdies given up. On the right side, chain grab for Eveliina. She's going to walk away with a bogey, which will still gain strokes on some of the field.
Yeah, it's a good finish for Eveliina for sure. But coming off the bogey on the previous hole, not the way the final 9 is ending. Not the way she wanted the final 9 to end is what I should say.
And Anneli will ultimately card the 10. And you see just how hole 16 can crush your soul one way or another, or ruin possibly a weekend or a round.
Right, it'll take you right out of your perfect round. And on to hole 17. It's at 459 feet, slightly downhill. It's a very fast green. I think this is the hardest hole, in my opinion, is hole 17. It's just slightly out of range, but it's still the same challenge whether you're attacking or not. Throwing it in bounds as far as you can is the goal here. This hole is tricky, specifically for the fast green and the slanting hillside. The hillside, as we've said all around, just wants to pull your discs down and out of their position immediately out of your hand. So I don't foresee anyone taking the birdie. I know, again, it is possible, but I just don't think that that's the goal here. I think just getting inbounds down the fairway as far as you can. If you happen to be in the circle with a putt, great. If not, Kona opting for that turnover. Really well done.
A great distance, and that there's almost a blessing in coming up in certain areas, because then you already know what your next shot is.
Yeah.
There's no temptation, and I think Kona's put herself exactly in that spot where it's definitely too far to run. So she's just thinking, hey, I'm going to be pitching this up, and I'm more than content with walking away with a 3. Paige, a little bit more aggressive with it, and that leaks to the left side, and it gets a curl, and she's really in the prime position. If you're going to be short, which is common here at 459, if you're short, you're on that lower side of the basket. She's going to have a flat angle at the pin, and it still may be too daunting to run at, but at least she has an option. And Eveliina hangs it out to that high right side, which again, that really makes the decision for her.
Yeah.
Of, I'm going to pitch it up, and I'm going to try and walk away with the par. And this is our last card to come through for the day, and we've yet to see a birdie. I know you were talking about how elusive they were. We'll see if anyone on this card can take one, and that's turned over. And really the wind just kind of took it and continued to push it over to the right side, and Anneli, some struggles here on 15 and 16's tees.
This is another risk reward play, because and that was what I was concerned about. The disc, when you throw, the forehand can stand up and actually trickle down the hill, because it's difficult to match the angle, and then it's difficult for the disc to come to rest.
And this looks like a much slower speed from what we just saw from Anneli. Hers was more of a driver. Kona looks like a mid or a putter.
Yeah, but look how quickly the disc meets the angle. I mean, it worked for her. It's a very risky shot. She made it look very easy.
It doesn't take much more for that to get up on edge and then just simply roll out of bounds. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It worked out for Kona here. Eveliina with the pitch.
Yes, some movement there.
She wouldn't have minded an extra 10 feet, though.
Yeah.
Especially considering she's going for that conservative play. And now here's Pierce from circle 2. As I said, if you're going to be short, this is the best place to be.
Oh, let her in. Oh, with the roll.
So much reaction off of that, especially when she thought it was in. And a great bid by Pierce, but unfortunately that means hole 17 will go birdie free in round 1. They've got 3 more chances at it, though. Here's Anneli. This is for the double bogey.
Good height.
Correction.
A little left.
So Eveliina, just a little bit left.
Yeah, and that down slope is in her view. Much better to be putting up to the basket than down at it.
Right in the middle. So impressive what we've seen from her.
A little smile from Eveliina as she grabs her putter.
Well, I've certainly noticed at this point, with her playing in her home country of Finland, there's a little more. I mean, she's always a very bubbly and smiley person.
Yeah.
But even more so out here. Of course, she's got to be feeling a little bit of that love. I saw her talking to a number of other friends that were non-disc golfers that were out there. So having her in that comfort zone, and that might be a real key to success this weekend.
Yeah.
She of course has friends and other travel companions when she's in the U.S., but here, surrounded by so many more people that she knows, and we head over to hole 18.
Yeah, hole 18, the signature hole here out at the Beast at Nokia in Finland. Some would say this is like a video game hole because as you make your way up to the green with the crowd and the stage and everything, it looks like it could be in a video game. And safe to say this pretty much takes everything into consideration that they've seen besides the ceiling. This is a wide open hole, couple guardian trees and OB on the left and right side. Make your way up into a green. I would say that OB line complements the circle's edge, if not is in line with it. The shot off the tee, there's a couple options. I think we'll see maybe some forehands perhaps out of Eveliina, but the most common is what we're going to see here, which is that tall and straight shot. Let the disc come back in bounds, get around those trees, settle in somewhere nicely, and keep it safe, Terry. That's the name of the game for hole 18. Keep it safe.
Yeah, and that righty backhand shot that we just saw from Kona flirts with the right side OB, and then often as it drifts down, it will find a collection area on the left side, and there's nothing wrong with being in that position. Here's Pierce on the tee.
Oh,
and that's just a misfire right out of her hand.
and I was going to say something. We've seen Paige throw her lower speed drivers pretty much all day, especially in the last few holes. She's just opted for like a fairway or below. Especially like putters and mid-ranges. And when you disc up to a higher speed, you need to be quicker. And with that comes a lot of mistakes that can happen. And one of those is early releasing. You don't have your timing right because you haven't necessarily had to do that kind of shot in quite a while. And I think that's where that mistake comes from. When you throw and follow through with a putter or with a mid-range, your follow-through should be slower because the disc can't handle all that torque on it. It can't handle all of those rotations. Really smooth there from Anneli, and she'll come in safe. One of the rare occasions where the slope actually helps you.
And this, you'll take all the help you can get at 699 feet. This is also playing as the most difficult hole on the course, averaged 5.54. So a stroke and a half over par was the average. And
yeah, she's just not making that adjustment with that release, following through, coming out early. She's just got to hang on to it for a millisecond more. She has 5 world titles. I'm sure she knows.
Not what you would expect, though, to see from Pierce. That is 2 OBs in the first 2 throws here on 18.
Yeah, nowhere near the green yet. Anneli, of course, coming in safe. Excellent. Great second shot. Look at how tight that OB gets in the middle of that fairway. This looks to be a distance driver in Paige's hands.
Yeah, and she is way back on this left side. She's got plenty of airspace. Oh, and that was heading left and then gets a kick off the tree and goes even more left. That's cleared the spectators, and so Pierce, 3 consecutive throws out of bounds.
And it's all similar mistakes. She's like slowly making the correction, but there's some sort of block there.
And this
is the mistake we've been seeing from Kona as well today. Not just the height, but gauging that fade back into the fairway. And I think just having it be slightly uphill, maybe she didn't take that into consideration.
This shot looks great. The question is, does it hold on?
Hey, we know that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
is it inbounds or out?
Unfortunately, it was just barely covering some of the OB line, but on the OB side. So as the rule states, you have to have some part of your disc touching inbounds, and then you're considered inbounds. However, the only part of her disc that was touching the line was the OB side. So she gets all of that distance. However, she's going to be considered out, and Kona trying to make the adjustment, and you see her hunched over in frustration, almost disbelief. She's also out of bounds, and now you're seeing why hole 18 is the most difficult hole on this course.
This is such a classic, that was such a classic camera angle for Anneli's next shot. Wow, what a great go of it. Anneli coming off of back-to-back really, really tough holes for her round, and just coming out strong here on 18. Continuing to do everything she needs to do to give her a good opportunity for a great round. Just, you love to see it.
I think it'd be so easy to collapse and and almost just quit in frustration, so to speak, figuratively, give up on yourself, and coming back and doing the work on hole 18. Wow. So impressive. And
again, Terry, that was her putter. That was a soul. So it's like, or sorry, that's the mid-range. That was her fierce. So she's throwing those so well, and I think it's the timing is just a little bit off for anything faster right now.
And Eveliina's effort matches what we just saw from Kona, just a hair low, and that's going to unfortunately add a stroke. But Anneli looking to close out with a par, very impressive.
Really well done. Feels good to do that in front of the crowd.
So it was a pleasure to watch this round, and we're going to watch everyone now clean up, and excited to see what can happen over the next couple of rounds. Of course, we have 4 rounds, this PDGA major taking place in Nokia, Finland. We're glad you guys could join us.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a quick look at the scores. We see a lot of strokes added. You mentioned it, and keep that in mind, folks. The last 4 holes of this course, so difficult, and they came out to bite a few of these players. But for the first time ever, Kat Mertz is in the lead at a PDGA major. She shoots 4 over, and that is the hot score. And there's your top 10. Thank you so much for joining us. For Hannah Macbeth, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you for round number 2 of our FPO lead card. That's all coming to you exclusively right here on the Disc Golf Network.